fun getaway, why not pack up the family and explore Texas? From the Gulf Coast to Big Bend, you can experience a Texas-sized adventure. Please welcome our personal tour guide for today, State Director of the Nature Conservancy, Laura Huffman.
Hello. Thank you. So many times we overlook what we have in our own backyard.
That's exactly right. You know, the best way to go abroad is to start in your own state.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, we would drive from like San Antonio to, Northeast Texas to Linden, Texas to see my grandma, and we drive through all the terrain, and there's so many different, changes, and then all of a sudden, red clay, we're almost there, and the piney woods, we're in the piney woods region now. But let's talk about some of those areas that a lot of people just have no clue. Are there. The Davis Mountains.
The Davis Mountains are in far west Texas. They're just outside of Fort Davis. Beautiful, beautiful landscape. There you see it on the map. Things to do in the Davis Mountains. The Nature Conservancy has a preserve with a 24-hour trail system. That's one of the most iconic pictures you see in Texas.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you think you're someplace else. You think you have to go to California to see that, or New Mexico, or whatever, but look how amazing that terrain is.
There's so many things to do out there. It's great hiking. Balmorhea Springs is nearby. You can go swim in cool, cold water. McDonald Observatory is out there. You can stargaze at night.
McDonald's at first.
No,
out in the middle of the wilderness? Yeah.
The UT Observatory is out there.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the work that we did at the Nature Conservancy helps keep those dark skies dark, so that stargazing is so good.
So tell us about the work the Conservancy does.
Well, our job is to protect the land and waters on which all life depends. We've got over 30 preserves in Texas, so one of them is there out in the Davis Mountains.
Yeah.
And we try to make sure that we've got enough protection in place that people, like those of you in the audience, have places to go and enjoy the beautiful natural resources in this state.
Yeah. Speaking of, the Gypsum Dunes in the Guadalupe Mountains National Park.
Yeah, now this is an interesting place. This has the highest peak in Texas at 5,000 feet. It also has sand dunes. Tons of hiking, mountain biking, again, looking at nature. If you look at it right there on the screen, this really does look like someplace that really isn't in Texas.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I can remember the first time my parents went out and hiked in this area. They couldn't even believe they were still in Texas.
Yeah, part of it looks very Arizona-ish.
It is.
It looks very, that's very,
well,
very
and
cool.
an interesting point about Texas, Texas has landscapes that are found all over the world. We really do have more diverse landscapes in this state than most states have.
Yeah, which we were talking earlier about shooting films. The film industry is so interested in Texas because we can give them all of those diverse landscapes.
Makes it easy for a site locator.
Yeah, exactly. The Devil's River, Diablo River.
Diablo River.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one of my favorite places in Texas, and it's a little-known natural resource in Texas. It's just outside of Del Rio. The Devil's River is considered the most pristine river in the state of Texas. That's Dolan Falls that you just saw. That the Nature Conservancy owns Dolan Falls. It is a great place to kayak, either a short trip about 30 miles or a longer trip.
Again, a lot of people may think Colorado, but why go that far? It's right here.
Beautiful, clear, clean waters. There's a state natural area there where you can camp, picnic, take a day trip, hike. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, and very remote place. There's also really interesting cave art out in this part of the world, and you can schedule a trip to go see some cave art.
Okay. Caddo Lake?
Caddo Lake, for me, is like the beginning of Earth. When you see those huge cypress trees coming out of the water, there's just something sort of ancient about it. Caddo Lake is the only natural lake in the state of Texas. See that?
Yeah.
It's just
more like the deep south.
Yeah, it just looks like the beginning of Earth to me. It's a beautiful place to fish and bird watch. Again, unbelievable biodiversity out at Caddo Lake, and it's just a part of Texas that most people don't get to. It's far east Texas.
Yeah. I'm looking at that video there, and it's almost like if you want to melt away someplace and get away from it all, you certainly get it right there.
I'll tell you a really amazing thing I got to do on Caddo Lake is to take a boat ride at night through all those cypress trees. It was very spooky, but it was also very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Matagorda Island.
Matagorda Island's near Houston, so this is a natural resource that's right here, close to home. Beautiful, beautiful place. Great fishing. It's a very well protected area in the state of Texas. The Nature Conservancy has protected an awful lot of land out there. The state of Texas has. Matagorda Island is remote. You have to take a boat to get to it, but it's some of the most beautiful and productive fishing in the state of Texas. Wonderful bird watching. You can see here just beautiful scenery. And if you're a coastal person, you got to see Matagorda Island.
Yeah. And the great thing about this too is we keep all the money right here in Texas.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
All right. For more information on Laura and her Texas travel picks, you can log on to greatdayhouston.com.
All right, so earlier we asked you what's at the top of your Texas travel list, and here's what some of you had to say. Steve Hicks says the hill country when the bluebonnets come out in spring. That's right. We plop all our kids in the middle of them and take those pictures every year. Vanessa Mann says Fredericksburg, which is that really wonderful, quaint German town. And then Carmen says, I would say South Padre for the beaches and Austin for the nightlife and capital. Look at you, Carmen. Carmen's one of our regulars. You're out in the nightlife in Austin, are you? Okay. I have to say, we've heard stories. Okay, yeah, Stephanie Wolf says, Green, where me and 20 other women gather for our annual Women's Weekend right on the river. No men and no kids. Last year was our 20th. Invite me next time. All right, so I'm going to have to ask you, what is your favorite spot in Texas?
My favorite spot in Texas is the Davis Mountains. On our preserve, you can hike up a mountain called Mount Livermore, and it's just the most incredibly scenic experience you could possibly have. You can look in one direction and see Mexico.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, hard hike. And what's interesting is when you get to the peak, we keep a little can where people can open the can and sign in that they've been there. So it's fun to scroll through the log and see who's been there. And interestingly, every time I've been up there, there are ladybugs everywhere. So after this incredibly hard hike, you get to the top of this mountain, and all of a sudden there's just sort of this magical experience. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
I can't really pinpoint a favorite place. And I've traveled the world, grew up around the world, but there's no place like home. I can just say that. And Texas is really home. Not one city in Texas, but Texas is home. Thank you very much. Well, coming up, get ready to laugh. We have one of America's favorite comedians to get your funny Friday started.